Blessed day, everyone, and welcome to It's When Lightning Strikes. If this is your first time joining, my name is Grace, and I will be your host. Today, we're going to be starting on the first teaching of the Grandfathers, which is humility, and represented by our wolf relatives. So, as we talked about in the introductory video, it's going to be really important for you in order to have understanding as time goes by, if you choose to devote yourself to this journey, that you study our wolf relatives. And I mean really dig in to who they are as a people and a community. So humility, let's try to define that so that we have something to kind of hang on to. Humility can be thought of as a state of being humble, which is a state that is obviously not one of arrogance, pridefulness, and know-it-allness. Humility can be thought of as understanding your place within all that is and within all who are. Not having thoughts, behaviors, actions that would indicate that you are of the belief that you are better than or superior to another. A lot of times people think of humility in kind of a negative context in terms of, well, if you're humble, then you're a martyr. And that's absolutely not true. So within humility is a selflessness. And if you're selfless, then you're not self-centered. You are not self-focused. You are not self-absorbed. Your life in general, becomes more about everybody and not just you. So in other words, it's just not all about you. It's not all about any one of us. It's about the collective of all. So that can kind of be something to hang on to in terms of how to describe humility and the qualities that one would have if they are humble. So I said I was going to dig in to this first teaching a little bit more than probably any of the others to kind of give you a example, a roadmap of how we can learn the medicine of our relatives. Medicine being what they teach us in who they are and in how they live their lives. This is their medicine. So if we look at our wolf family, and again, you're going to have to do a lot of research and a lot of studying and a lot of contemplation on what it all means, how it's reflective of being a humble individual, and then that all has to be translated into the human being realm that we all live in. So again, not everything I'm going to talk about is all-inclusive of our relatives. I mean, our wolf family, there's an endless number of things that we can learn from them. So I'm just going to pick and choose what we talk about. So our wolf relatives, as we know, live in a pack, a community made up of individual members that make up their pack, their collective tribe, their collective community. And, we can look back in time and we can see how the indigenous peoples of this land emulated this tribal communal way of being. That's kind of missing in this world at this point, minus the handfuls of indigenous peoples that still maintain this way of being. So within the pack, everybody has a role, several roles, but they have roles. And the success of the pack in its totality is dependent upon everybody doing their part, fulfilling their role, doing their job. So in terms of an example, a hunt. So everybody has a role in the hunt, and everybody's role is different. Where they are is different. How they're approaching is different. And this is all based upon the strengths of each individual. So they're playing to their strengths, which in turn minimizes their weaknesses, which is what we should all be doing. And their success, meaning they take down the prey, is dependent upon every single one of them fulfilling their role or doing their job. And so this speaks to the success of one is the success of all. Now, if somebody doesn't do their job, then the failure of one becomes the failure of all. So they don't take down the prey. Now they all get to go hungry because one person didn't do their job. So that's another thing that we can learn from them. And this is translated into the human world in the same way. We just don't live that way. We don't even think that way. Everybody's just kind of self-centered, self-absorbed, concerned only with their little blip in the world and not the collective of all. The other thing about wolves that's very interesting is they have leaders. Okay, they have an alpha male and an alpha female. And if we look at one of the definitions of humility would be the absence of thoughts, behaviors, actions, any number of things that you are better than or superior to others. We don't see this in the wolf pack. We don't have the pack leaders, sitting under the shade of a tree while everybody else has to go out and do the work and try to get the food and bring it back to feed them. Everybody, no matter what their role is, even if they're the leader, are out participating, actively helping the success and facilitating the well-being of every single member. So, translating this into the human world, what kind of leaders do we have? Do we have leaders who are actively out with the rest of us, helping, facilitating the betterment of everybody? Or do we have leaders who are basically only concerned with their own well-being and what's best for them and maybe a handful of other people? So we can see the disparity quite easily between these two ways of being. And this is where we learn from our relatives as we go through every single teaching, the appropriate, the sheer definition of the teaching, in this case, humility. So they show us in how they live, in their very way of being, what it means to be humble, what it means to be selfless, what it means to work collectively for the betterment of all, not just yourself. And these are just a few things that we can learn from our wolf relatives. So, humility in terms of a communal way of being pretty much is non-existent in this world at this point. I mean, most people don't even know their next door neighbor and don't care to. And humility, on an individual basis, is a personal choice. So for me, humility is an endless well. There's no bottom to it. And just when you think you can't possibly be humbled anymore, believe me, you can. Absolutely can. And it's really best to actively humble yourself than to be unwillingly humbled. That's never a good experience. So, humility and the wolf. Humility, again, is the foundation stone from which to build oneself upon. Without humility, there is virtually zero chance that you're going to be able to achieve honesty, respect, wisdom, love, any of these other teachings if you do not have a foundation of humility. This is so critical. I can't even tell you how critical it is. So this is where we start, is humility. We all need to humble ourselves. For me, there's nothing, no one in this world that can't teach me something or many things. And I think it's important to understand because the human race is so completely enthralled with themselves that they think that they are the only people on this planet, our great Mother Earth. And all of creation, in the sacred circle of creation, all of creation stands in equality in this circle. And they are all people. They're just non-human people. Okay, we have tree people, we have plant people, we have, the wolf people, bear people. Everybody is a person in their own right. And so when we're talking about not having thoughts and actions that would indicate that we are superior to, better than anyone else, we're not just talking about being better than another human being. We're talking about having thoughts that you are better than a tree, that you are better than an ant, that you are better than a frog. And this is probably pretty shocking to hear because this is not the way humanity thinks, but this is the way that it is. This is the truth of things, and you'll discover that at some point on this journey, should you choose to devote yourself to taking it and making it. So, humility, foundation stone of all of the other teachings, without a doubt. Do a lot of research. Think about what I've said. Think about what I haven't said. Mull it about for yourself. See what you come up with. Thank you for joining me today on the channel where lightning is bound to strike. Till we come together again, be well.